I have one of the large nodes in the center of the network. Even though there's only 14 or 15 BTC nodes and around the same in Bitcoin nodes, etc., I have all these other little hangers-on that do nothing but suck up bandwidth. So in BTC world, what we have is we have 14 to 15, and we'll say 15 real nodes. We have about 100 exchanges and other type things. And then we have 2,000 plus blockstream pretend to be nodes. And it's always interesting how, back when SegWit came in, if you actually analyzed these, which I did, you would find that every one of them had the same operating system, the same install, the same Amazon foundation, but they were so different. Why? Because they had a different IP address. Actually, some of them were the same machine run up on this, with different IP addresses, but that's a different thing again. Now, those 2,000 machines, do we care what they're doing? No. So right now, if we want to send our huge 1 megabyte BTC block, because it's so huge, and we've got thousands of these guys, what's that mean? I'm going to have my 15 real nodes, my 100 I want to get to the exchange nodes, and say 2,000 of these. And I want to get things out really quickly because I'm a miner, and thus the quicker I get my block out, the more money I make. What bandwidth am I using? Using a lot. So in this case, I've got 2,000. I'm going to be one of these, so I'll put 14. 114 times the bandwidth. So to send 1 megabyte, I'm actually sending 2.1 gigabytes worth of data over the network. Doesn't sound efficient, does it? So that gives you an argument when you're someone who doesn't understand network science to go, you can't do this, it'll break the network. All the home users won't be able to see stuff. So, what now happens if we have 1 gigabyte? Gets messy, doesn't it? So, now we go up and we get rid of that and we go, make that 10 gigabytes and we get that G and we get rid of that. And that's 21 terabytes every 10 minutes worth of network traffic. What's your internet speed? Who thinks they've got a fast internet connection? What do you send? So how long do you think that's going to take you to send? Remember, this is byte, so times 8 for bits. Might take a little while, won't it? So I've got 4 links at home, 2 of them 10 gigabit Ethernet direct to BT, and 2 are slower. And that's going to take me a while. So I'm going to care. That becomes impossible, doesn't it? You're going to sit there and go, see, you can't scale Bitcoin because networks. And you be all sneery and you say, see, Craig doesn't know anything. Because what we have is we have an n-1 scaling factor. So if we have 10,000 home nodes, then, which is what they want, instead of the 15 here, then we can sit there and go, ugh, with our 10,000 approximately nodes, that's 10,000 times the traffic. You can't do that. Now, I want you to think for a little bit. What does it mean if we now have people subscribing from home? If we have multicast subscriptions? If you have multicast X, and I told you just before, I don't care who subscribes. That's an internet function. That's what ISPs do. We're not running an ISP. I used to. I ran corporate services for Aussie Mail, where everyone bitched. This is pre.com days, and the whole company complained at me all the time because we were terribly inefficient in corporate services. We had 100 clients that mattered, a few smaller ones, so we didn't matter. Of course, I had arguments with people in the company because one of those clients was New South Wales Schools, and they had 1 million connections. One of those clients was DFAT, Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, which also run some of the spook agencies. And all up, we made 80% of the company revenue. We got 20% of the budget. Yay, internet days. Now, going back to this wonderful stuff that everyone ignored because corporations, who cares? Well, I can set up a few of these. So I have a small range, and I'm going to let you do your homework. We're going to, after our coffee break, which we haven't got for a while, I'm going to have you come and tell me how many. How many of these things I've got? How many networks and multicasts can I create? Someone can look it up now if they want to, but I'm going to let you do some homework. I'm going to tell you it's a large number. In the order of, I don't give a fuck. When we're talking about the number of networks, we're not talking in the order of tens or hundreds or thousands or millions or billions or quadrillions. Bigger. So you can do your homework for the next bit. But let's assume, because you can trust this one, that there is enough that every company on earth that will ever exist can have one for every pot plant they've got in the organization. So that if you want to join and have pot plant monitoring protocol number 1, anyone in the world can openly monitor your pot plant and ensure that it has been watered. And I'm serious on that. You could actually go down to the stage where every particle in that pot plant can be monitored. But you probably don't want to do that because, well, having more IoT devices than molecules is, well, dumb. But multicast. Now, let's start thinking about this for a moment. Do I need one address per node? No, I don't. If I can put as many as I want, I don't care. So I want you to think about all of this for a little moment. These guys, we have different classes, right? We have those ones, those ones, those ones, many others as we want. We can have people who want to monitor for academic purposes. We can have people who want to audit for government purposes. All sorts of funky things. So, number 1, you could sign up because you actually want this traffic. That could be a very high bandwidth application, and you can specify these differently. That could be a minimum send of 10 gigabytes per second, etc. It could be streamed out minimum. How many people have a 10 GBE home connection? Yes, my wife understands this. She pays the bills. And complains about them every month. But if you're on your home network and there's a flood of network traffic coming down at 10 gigabit per second, what happens? You're not going to get it all, are you? I mean, it's like getting a fire hose and trying to fill a coffee cup. Doesn't work terribly well. I mean, it will fill up your coffee cup. Of course, your coffee cup will then be across the other side of the room somewhere, but it's full, maybe, if it hasn't fallen over. So these guys can do that. But that's a problem, isn't it? Everyone else is going to whine, we don't get to see everything on the blockchain. How do we solve that? Now, these guys care because, well, 1 to 2 seconds for a block can be a big difference. If you're talking about how quickly you get and then validate a block because you're a miner, because someone actually running a node and earning money, doesn't every second count? Every second out of the average of 600 that you have is one where you're not processing. The guy who found that has a slight advantage. And if you can make your download quicker, you get a bigger advantage. If it takes you 10 seconds to download a block, you on average have to do the same amount of work in 590 seconds as someone who can do it in 1 second does in 599. That doesn't sound huge, does it? Any idea what the percentage difference is between 599 and 590? Not huge, is it? But if you're a miner and your profitability ends up being 3 or 4%, then 1 point something percent disappearing might actually matter, doesn't it? If suddenly your profitability goes from 2% down to 0.7% because you're slower, you're going to care. So then you care about traffic. These guys in exchanges, they care as well. They want to get blocks and validate things, know about transactions. They mainly care about double spends, making sure nothing like that's happened and nothing funky's happened on blocks. If they wait 10 seconds, how many people joined an exchange and had anything validated and accepted by an exchange in 10 seconds? Anyone? No? No, they don't. They wait multiple blocks. So not as important. Home users, if you actually want to download everything because you still want to do something, you're a researcher, you want to check a full block, then once every 10 minutes is good enough. If you want to take the whole blockchain, no matter how large it is, even if you want to store 100, then wipe them, then as long as you can keep up, it's good enough. So if you do it 600 times slower, that works, doesn't it? You still get it, you validate it, you chuck it away. Do you need to keep that block if you're a home user? If you want to validate everything and you want to make sure that that block's real, do you need to? Come on, someone answer. No, why not? So think about this for a moment. There's this hash header, right? If I download and validate a full block because I want to, because I live in mum's basement and I'm super important because I validate blocks, and I validate a block and I delete it, how do I know that it hasn't been changed?